A few months ago, I was having a long email exchange with a self-described hetero-separatist. It was about hate crime statistics, and I told him that about 4% of the population was openly gay. And out of the blue, he turned that into a blog post about gays abusing kids. And he called it the Tishonai formula, using my unusual last name. And I thought that was pretty disgusting, attaching my name to this vile crime, but I shouldn't have been surprised, because that's where a lot of our opponents go. So we need to be armed with the facts, especially gay men, who are the usual targets of these sick lies and accusations. And I also realized that this guy had done me a big favor, because his blog post served up their twisted reasoning in a way that just highlights every false assumption and mistake that they make. He claims that 33% of all girls are molested, along with 14% of all boys. Then, using the 96-to-4 straight-to-gay ratio, he asks, if a village of 960 men molested 33 girls, and a village of 40 men molested 14 boys, which village would be more dangerous to children? He's trying to make the point that the gay village is more dangerous, but actually he's repeating the mistake at the heart of so much anti-gay propaganda, the assumption that girls are molested by straight men, while boys are molested by gays. The real picture, though, looks more like this. Men who abuse boys rarely come from this 4% group. They come from over here. Our opponents don't want to admit that. The general public doesn't seem to know it, but the facts don't lie. Dr. Carol Jenny and her colleagues at Denver's Children's Hospital looked at 50 boys who were molested by adults. 37 were molested by men in a heterosexual relationship with one of the boys' relatives. 3 were molested by their mother or grandmother. 5 by both parents. 3 were molested by male family friends with no history of sex with men. 1 by an uncle, also with no history of sex with men. Finally, 1 boy was abused by a man who was possibly, but not clearly, identified as gay. All these cases are tragic, but there's no reason to single out openly gay men as a special threat. So who are these non-gay men abusing boys? Well, some aren't straight or gay. They're not attracted to adults at all. They're only attracted to kids. These are pedophiles. They're fixated on children. Others do have a straight sexual history with women, but under the wrong circumstances, they regress to desiring children. But why would a straight man, attracted to women but not to men, be attracted to boys? Well, first you have to ask why they're attracted to children at all. And the answer seems to be that these disturbed individuals get off on a power rush that they can't feel with an adult relationship. And as for why boys, well, researchers asked them that question, and the answer came back that the boys had no body hair, and their bodies were soft and smooth. In other words, not manly. And of course, straight men often have more access to boys than they do to girls. The vast majority of men who abuse boys either aren't attracted to adults of either gender, or are straight men with an emotional disturbance that sends them regressing back to kids. In study after study, only the tiniest fraction of these abusers show any interest in adult men, a percentage well below the fraction of openly gay men in society. That's why the American Psychological Association testified to the U.S. Senate there is no evidence that homosexuals are more likely than heterosexuals to molest children. Some of our opponents don't care about this distinction. Peter LaBarbera says, who cares if a guy is married? If he's into molesting boys, that's homosexual behavior. Who cares? Really? The first point, and this is the minor point, is that if we're talking about marriage equality and gay adoption and don't ask, don't tell, we're talking about openly gay men. So it doesn't make any sense to fight us with stats about men who are married to women. But here's the real point. When our opponents demonize openly gay men and falsely shine a spotlight on us, they're letting the real abusers hide in the darkness and continue their abuse. And that just reveals our opponents' real agenda. They care more about demonizing gay men than they do about protecting kids. They're literally sacrificing children to their own homophobia. Remember the hetero-separatist from the beginning of the video? He ended our correspondence by asking me to read the Bible with an open mind. But when he attached my name to this vile crime, he was ignoring Matthew 7:12 and Luke 6:31. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But of course he can't see that, because his homophobia is more important to him than his own moral code. Let's wrap this up by going back to the corrected version of his diagram and asking his question again. Which village is more dangerous to children? Not the openly gay one. And anyone who says different, whether out of ignorance or hatred or fear, is simply helping the abusers.